God's opinion on the Marshmallow Doughgirl. I have low self-esteem. I have low self-esteem. I have hated my body. I have hated the texture of my hair. I hated that I was a B cup. I hated the thickness of my arms or my short stature. I'm making myself out to look like a regular Shrek, and maybe that's how I see myself in the mirror. I'll tell you what the world told me and the maleficent spirits, but I will also tell you what God told me. My mother once told me that someday I'll grow breasts big enough to hide my stomach. My father once gave me a vintage tin can full of mints for my birthday, only to remove the mints and remind me that I'm too fat to deserve those. He used to buy pastries and set them on the table and point to me in a warning manner. You're too fat. You can't have any. I remember a boy in my 5th grade class pulling out the chair from under me, and I thought he was being a gentleman at first. I remember feeling particularly self-conscious that day, as I felt like a huge marshmallow. My mother had dressed me in a white, thick jogging suit on a hot summer day. After I went to sit down, the boy pulled the chair from under me, pointed and laughed. Look, it's the Pillsbury Doughgirl. Everyone laughed. I remember laughing too, but inside I was dying. I was in tears and wished truly that I could disappear forever. My mother used to force me to wear makeup, even from preschool. She painted a fake beauty mark on the left side of my cheek to make me more attractive, as she mentioned I was homely. She would force me to rip my own pictures up from school if I smiled in a way that was unattractive. If I failed to wear makeup, even as an adult, she pointedly told me that I looked sick. She tells me that still. Are you sick? You look pale and sick. Physical abuse, fatness, and self-hate. When I was young, until I was 17 years old, my brother was allowed to torment me. He physically abused me, and he would hit me so hard that I saw stars. Once I accidentally picked up the telephone back in the day when the internet consisted of a strange sound on the other end of the line. Well, I did not know that my brother was downloading music from an app called Napster, which, if you remember, you're probably as old as I am. So I accidentally picked up the phone. And in case you don't know why this was such a big deal, at that time, the phone was connected to the internet. So if you picked up the phone, you disconnected the internet. And when you think about Jurassic Park, do you remember that theme song in Jurassic Park when they first see the brontosaurus? That song. That song has always kind of traumatized me because of this experience, and I'm going to explain to you why. When I picked up the phone, the internet became disconnected, therefore destroying the download that he was doing of the Jurassic Park song. He got excruciatingly angry, grabbed the phone from my hand, and began beating me with it. He created a hole in my face where one of my bottom teeth cut through my skin and it bled. During one episode, I called the police and my mom answered the door and told the police that I was just crazy and had mental problems and sent them away. My brother told me that he hated fat people and that his wish was to see me 6 feet under, dead, and he would applaud at my funeral. He would come to my room to lay down, hands crossed casually behind his head, comfortably to stare at me. Did you know you're fat? Why do you stink? Did you know you're ugly? He would tell me these things, and if I ignored him, it was hell for me. He would commence to cut the tips off any plants I was growing in my little garden in my room. He would cut my clothes into shreds. He picked up my only radio that I had and threw it on the ground, destroying it. He would remove the fan pool from the ceiling fan, and he created a huge hole in my door with his knee when I closed it and locked it one day because I was fearing for my safety. He said that he wanted to torment me because I was fat, and he hates fat people. Mental self-immolation in a mango milkshake. As I grew up, the dating world was a huge mess. It didn't help that I didn't follow God's word, and I was a worldly mess. I had the seed of God planted in my heart and mind, but I was also in that terrible stage of discovering identity and of rebellion, and it's a world where the demons know that you're vulnerable, especially if you feel broken about yourself. I remember a young military man wanted to watch a movie at his place. His place, however, was the barracks on a military base. I noticed there was only a bed and a television, and I immediately got tense. Before this, he bought me a milkshake at a gas station. I was immensely happy as it was a mango flavored and really delicious, and I felt it was kind of him to buy me this treat. But at the barracks, he wanted to drink alcohol and wanted me to watch a movie that had excessive nudity. He wanted me to perform an act that I was not comfortable with. When I said no, I walked out. Later, he texted me with this: "I don't even like fat chicks. I shouldn't have bought you that milkshake. You definitely didn't need it anyway." And this played out in my dating life over and over again, the same theme. A police officer once invited me to his house at night. I refused, and I was polite, and he was then blatant about what he wanted to do and what his intentions were. I refused again and texted him that I'm going home, and he messaged me with this: "I'm confused. Fat chicks always say yes." I have so many examples of this, but I'll leave you with these two in the dating world for now.